Hello there, world of tankers. Welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I will be talking about the 5 best tech trees to grind in the game. I'll be covering every single class of vehicle, so we'll talk about mediums, tank destroyers, heavies, and lights, so that you can know why I think each of these are the best, and let me know if you've already ground them, and if you agree or disagree. Either way, I don't want to waste too much of your time. Let's get straight into it. We're going to start off with the newest tech tree line in the game, the AC Atlas, a tier 10 Blitz Nation heavy. Now, this thing is insane. It features 2 different gun options. You have an autoloader, which you can see me running here. This gun has about 2,800 DPM and has a double shot or a double clipping 360 alpha. So we can see there I shoot the Sheridan once, and then I get my second burst out here, and that's about 720 damage each burst. This thing does a lot of damage, but not only that, it also has a single shot with around 480 damage per shot. It's pretty accurate, and it's really dangerous. Both guns that the Atlas features are really, really nasty, and we can see here, when you're running 2 of them, that clipping potential, it adds up pretty fast. A full health T30 losing 1,600. But it's not just the clipping potential that this thing features, it's the armor. This here is what 275 mils of standard penetration looks like when aiming in on the Atlas, and as we can see, apart from the lower plate, you're really not penetrating this thing anywhere, and even in a side scrape, this thing still has incredibly good armor. Once you load gold, even then, the armor is still pretty strong, especially when using gun depression, which this vehicle has 8 degrees of. It also features great penetration at 354 APCR. So it has really good penetration. It has pretty decent mobility, reaching a top speed upwards of 40 kilometers per hour. It has crazy good armor, and when you add all that together, plus the fact that the whole line is incredibly fun to grind, yeah, the Atlas kind of just rips out damage, as we can see in this game right here. So I would definitely say the Atlas would be my #1 pick for a beginner if you want to get your hands on a really strong heavy. Next, that brings us to the tier 10 Polish heavy, the 60 TP. We have 2 heavies we're talking about, and then apart from that, we're going to be talking about mediums, tank destroyers, and lights. But the 60 TP, I just had to throw it in there. This vehicle is the jack of all trades if you want a high alpha vehicle. Most of the high alpha tanks usually have a downside, right? And alpha refers to damage, how much damage per shot you deal. See, there's a lot of high damage per shot vehicles, the E100, but the E100 is slow, it's bulky, and if you don't know how to angle it properly, you can get caught out really quickly. Other vehicles, maybe we've got some autoloaders, but the 60 TP is great for a couple of reasons. First of all, the line itself is amazing. The tier 8 53 TP is one of the best tech tree tier 8s, with an incredibly fast aiming time, great hull down armor, and a hard-hitting gun. And then you get to the tier 9, the 50 TP, or the 56 TP. That thing's also great. Good gun depression, crazy good hull down armor, and again, a gun that is really, really nice. So you have 2 great tanks on tier 8 and 9, and then the 60 TP is also amazing. This thing gets tungsten rounds, allowing you with your 630 damage to roll upwards of 700 damage per shot. If that's not enough, the 60 TP also features great accuracy for what it is. I mean, sure, its gun can be troll, but it actually is pretty fast aiming time, and because of that, I genuinely hit more shots than I feel like I should be in this vehicle. It's got enough penetration to cut through most heavies quite reliably. It's got 7 degrees of gun depression, and it also has basically impervious hull down armor. Even a Concept 1B will genuinely struggle to cut through this thing when it's using its gun depression. And we can see here, a 183 has already bounced me, a 113 has already bounced me. I mean, I got a lot of dangerous vehicles in front of me, and yet we're not dead yet, and that's pretty dang impressive. So we're just going to try our best to deal with the situation in front of me. Let's get a nice shot into the 113, 703 damage, another bounce on my lower plate. That's 2,000 damage dealt, that's 3,020 damage blocked, and yeah, the 60 TP is kind of crazy. And that's not even mentioning this thing also gets gear oil, allowing it to reverse upwards of 19 kilometers per hour. So it hits hard, it's surprisingly accurate, and with the gun depression and crazy levels of turret armor, this thing really checks off every box, which is why I consider it to be one of the best vehicles to grind. Now we arrive to our tank destroyer, which is the Hori. The Hori is a pretty silly vehicle. The tank hits very hard with 560 damage per shot, but it's not just the fact that it hits hard, it's the fact that when you load premium ammo, you don't lose any damage. You go from 560 to 545 damage per shot. Basically, there's no downside to loading premium ammo. And when you pair that with the fact that the Hori is ridiculously accurate, has surprisingly good armor and gets reactive armor, reducing 27% of the damage received when you activate it for 10 seconds, or 14 if you're running high-end consumables. It allows the Hori to kind of just get away with whatever it wants. It also, even though it's huge, has like the third best camouflage for a tank destroyer in the game, which is really weird. I've never understood it, but yeah, it has crazy good camouflage values. It has crazy good accuracy. It has the highest penetration in tier 10 due to its AP premium. And then you pair that with the fact that the thing's got crazy good DPM and everything else, and yeah, it's a no-brainer. I mean, the Hori is crazy good. It also has pretty troll armor. I hate fighting Horis because it doesn't matter how skilled the player driving it is, generally they're not going to bounce you. And unless you're in a Concept 1B, well, it's just such a crazy good vehicle. I mean, look at that. Hatching the Yag, already up to 5K in this game. The Hori is a wild vehicle. For years, I've always considered this to be one of the most brain-dead tanks. But hey, if you want to have really good, consistent battles, this is the perfect tank for you. And not only that, but the whole line is great as well. The tier 9 is fantastic. The tier 8 is fantastic. Even the tier 7 is great. So I would definitely recommend to get your hands on the Hori. Now that brings us over to Better Call Saul. No, that brings us over to the Sheridan, the light tank of today's video. The Sheridan is another great vehicle, and it's got a couple reasons why. First of all, for a light tank, it has insane levels of penetration. I've really never understood the thought process of giving a light tank 350 mils of pen, but yeah, this tank has the same premium pen as a 60 TP. Not only that, but it has 570 damage per shot, which means that this vehicle is able to deal more damage than just about any other tank in tier 10, apart from obviously some of the tank destroyers. What that means is that not only are you hitting incredibly hard, not only do you have great penetration, but this thing also has Leopard 1 on movement dispersion. What that means is that the gun is ridiculously accurate on move. You can see here how little the gun blooms even when I'm turning the gun, the vehicle. So it's accurate, has great damage per shot, and sure, its DPM isn't great compared to the other light tanks and mediums at around 2,600, but when you think of the alpha damage and the penetration and the accuracy, the DPM is totally fine at 2,600. It's enough that you're easily going to be chunking out 3,000, 4,000 damage games without even breaking a sweat. I can tell you from personal experience that, yeah, the Sheridan is a pretty brain-dead vehicle. The line itself is great as well. The T49 is super fun. The T92E1, which is the tier 9, is a completely overpowered tank. And then you get to the Sheridan, and it feels, honestly, the exact same. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend to get your hands on the Sheridan. And that brings us to the final vehicle to talk about. A vehicle that might actually surprise some of you, the Progetto 65. I honestly love the Progetto. I really do, for many reasons. First of all, the gun is pretty accurate now. It used to be a very inaccurate vehicle, but Wargaming has buffed this thing over and over and over to now where it's actually pretty good. The Progetto has 350 damage per shot and a 3-second interclip, which means that in about 6 seconds it can deal 1,050 damage. Not only that, but you barely lose any DPM when dumping the clip. It has great mobility, achieving a top speed over or just about 60 kilometers per hour. I think it's 58. So it's got great top speed. It's got great clipping potential. It has 3,000 damage per minute. And if that's not enough, it also features combat stabilization, which means that the gun never blooms as long as you're not really moving too much. We can see there, I already took a pretty substantial amount off that 2 and 5B. If that's not enough, the Progetto has one of the trollest armor profiles in tier 10. The turret looks like a super easy pen, but for some reason it isn't. I can't tell you how many times I fired at a Progetto turret and just bounced because it hit some goofy angle. And if that's not enough, when you pair that with the fact that the Progetto also has a ridiculously troll upper plate that is enough armor to bounce a Jagdpanzer E100 shot, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm not going to say that the Progetto is the best tier 10, but what I will say is that it's a reliable medium that doesn't punish you if you shoot your shells, that has great mobility, that has pretty good accuracy, solid penetration, and the line itself is great. The Standard B is easily one of the best tier 9s in the game. The P44 Pantera is an absolute riot. It's really only the lower tiers that aren't too exciting, but who cares about lower tiers anyway, right? For me, this thing is absolutely amazing, and because of that, I can quite confidently say that the Progetto 65 is worth grinding. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is my list of the best tanks to get your hands on. on the tech tree. I'm sure that some people will agree and some people will disagree, but these are just my picks. So if you want to see more videos like this in the future, make sure to smash that subscribe button down below. And apart from that, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.